Our first guest tonight represents Ohio's 4th congressional district, my home state. And unfortunately, Jim and I will not talk about our Buckeyes' loss last week. We will get right into Twitter and politics because I don't want to talk about Michigan. Hey, Jim, how are you?
I'm fine, Dan. Good to be with you. I hope you had a great Thanksgiving week in spite of the Buckeyes' loss.
I cried Saturday.
Yeah.
I cried. Okay, let's get into this nervousness within the White House, within the liberal media, within Democrat sphere. Everybody freaked out about what might unfold, what might come out at Twitter because of Elon.
No. Remember that today's left doesn't. They don't appreciate the First Amendment. They don't want a First Amendment anymore. Today's left says if you don't agree with them, you're not allowed to speak. And if you try, they're going to call you names. They're going to call you racist. They're going to try to cancel you. They're going to come after your employer. They're going to come after your family. That's just how they operate because they're so focused on keeping power and keeping conservatives at bay. They're willing to do just about anything, even go back 2 years ago, even have 51 former intel officials sign a letter that says the Hunter Biden story was Russian misinformation, disinformation, whatever they called it, when they knew it wasn't. And then the FBI goes and tells Facebook, hey, be on the lookout for disinformation, and they suppress that. So even to go so much as to influence a presidential election, the biggest election we have in our country, that's how committed they are to their one-sided story and going against the First Amendment.
Well, what they've all done is treasonous. You know what happened in the good old days, but nowadays everybody just gets off scot-free. Well, yep, they influence an election by stopping real truth and facts about a candidate, Joe Biden, from coming out, but that's okay. They'll get off scot-free. They're not in charge anymore. Anyway, I got to move on. You were talking about power. There's an article from Breitbart, and Marjorie Taylor Greene and some other America First MAGA folks say that they are going to get behind Kevin McCarthy's speakership. You have a couple dozen saying, no, maybe we get behind Andy Biggs or someone else. The article that broke today said, well, if we don't get behind McCarthy, there could be a real, more liberal rhino Republican installed, which would be bad for the America First movement. Now, Jim, your name's come up. I'd like to see you as speaker, but I'd like you to weigh in on this back and forth between, do we make Kevin the speaker, do we make someone else, or should it be Jim Jordan?
Yeah, the guy who gets you to the Super Bowl should get to coach the game. Kevin's done a good job of keeping our team together.
Okay.
I pointed this many times, Dan. I think we probably talked about it on your show at some point. But go back to the first impeachment, the crazy Democrat impeachment of President Trump for the phone call with President Zelensky. And the conventional wisdom was when we started that process that every single Democrat in the House was going to vote to impeach President Trump. A bunch of Republicans were going to join in. But we went through that 4-month ordeal. We brought the facts and the truth to the American people. And when it finally settled, every single Republican in the House voted not to impeach President Trump. Several Democrats joined us, and one Democrat switched parties, and he's been reelected now 2 times and is a great member of the Republican conference. That doesn't happen if you don't have the right leadership in place. So our job is to come together as a team because any differences, I think this is so important, any differences between the more moderate members of the Republican conference in Congress and us conservatives pale in comparison to the differences between Republicans and the crazy left, which doesn't like the First Amendment, which does the crazy things the Biden administration does. That's the real concern, and that's what frightens me about where the country would go if the left get back in charge. So we better come together and fight off this. What I want to do is be chair of the Judiciary Committee and work on the border, work on big tech, work on the political activities at the Justice Department and holding people accountable for the weaponization of government against we the people.
I think you'd make a hell of a chair of the Judiciary Committee, and we know that committee is going to be very busy, or it better be very busy, come January when Republicans take over because there's so much damage to be repaired from the Biden regime. All right, Jim, thanks for setting the record straight. I get it. I read the Breitbart article. I get that Democrats could try to pull some of your subpoena power if Republicans are too busy arguing, trying to figure out who the speaker is, and then we wouldn't be able to go after some of these scum that we need to investigate and subpoena. So if you don't know, folks, look it up before you start sounding off online like, why are they going for this guy or that guy? There's more at stake here, and Jim just laid it out there for us. Jim, as always, thank you, sir, and we'll still end with an OH.
I-O.
Maybe next year.
Yeah.
Hey,
All
11
right.
and 1. 11 and 1, right?
That's right.
Thanks, Jim.
That's right.